Give this a second. That'll sweat now. I'm wondering, so I'll wait for some people to jump on to find out if this is working. Oh, no. Right, everything is going wrong here. God, you gotta love it. So can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear now? Can hear. Oh, cool. No worries. Just had 50 million things just jump up on my computer. But anyway, as I was saying, I wanted to come in because 2 days in a row now we've had, awesome, thanks Tracy. 2 days in a row we've had the Speak Your Truth card come up, and it made me become really curious. Like when something comes up and it's definitely a sign and a synchronicity about there's a message coming from our soul. And it made me become really curious as to what other people's idealism of, you've got to be fucking kidding me, now there's a bug in my face, around what people's idea and concept was around speaking their truth. And most of the times I found most people thought that speaking your truth was about speaking your truth to other people. And I really wanted to come in and share that that actually is really secondary. Speaking your truth is about being able to have like real, raw, honest, truthful conversations with ourselves, being really honest about what it is that we want in our life. But a lot of the times we fail to remember to ask those questions because sometimes we move into a space of victim and worrying and being annoyed and focus more on what we don't want. And all that does is it just harnesses and exacerbates the situations and causes that vibration to send even more of what we don't want coming back to us. But speaking your truth is about being able to have really honest conversations with your own self, asking yourself questions and allowing that intuitive soulful part to come in and help guide you by asking simple questions like, what is it that I do want? And if you're one of those people that go, you know, because sometimes you can ask people what they don't want, and the very first thing they'll do is rattle off everything they don't want, is that you could just primarily come in and ask yourself, show me what I want right now. And allow your soul to reveal to you through intuitive messages to be able to come in and show you what it is that you do want. I'll give you a classic example. Hey, Carolyn. Hey, Rakesh and Harry and Brody and Tracy and people that have jumped on. It's great to see you here, Natalie and Jackie. I'll give you a classic example. At Christmas time, I was away with my family on a houseboat, and I jumped off the roof of the houseboat and landed awkwardly and tore all the muscles on the inside of my leg, and I was pretty much laid out from being able to do anything for about just over 2.5 weeks. I couldn't really walk, couldn't sit. It was very, very really frustrating because I thought to myself, this was definitely not the way that I wanted to start my year. Hi, Caroline. How are you, love? And I asked myself that very simple question, show me what I want. And literally within a couple of minutes, the message came through really clear with simplicity. I'd been working on a lot of business stuff, and I was getting frustrated, and I had to learn a whole new lot of processes and systems and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I hurt myself that I realized that I was actually about to embark on something that really did not light me up. It sounded good and I could do all of these skills, but it didn't actually light me up that I wanted to do it all the time. So this is where we can use that soulful part of coming in and speaking our truth and asking powerful questions to our soul to ask it to reveal to us, what is it that you do want? Because if you don't know what you want, then that means that it's going to make it really difficult to consciously create the life or the business that you want, because you're not going to have the clarity. And without clarity, we don't have direction, and we don't know what we need to do to make those different changes. So it's so important. Hi, Diane. How are you, love? It's so incredibly vital to be able to have these soulful conversations with ourselves. We usually make ourselves so incredibly busy and available for everyone else, but forget that we are conscious creators and powerful manifestors, that we can actually create the life that we want. But if your life is filled with so much time and space being consumed by other people and the needs and the have-tos and the structures and the stuff that we need to do on a day-to-day basis, we don't have available space to be able to create that life and business that we do want in our world. And it's so important to be able to go in and ask these questions, because we evolve so much. I mean, I know some of the things that I wanted at the start of the year have definitely evolved and changed, or some of the things that I thought I wanted at the start of the year, when I started moving in that direction, I realized it actually wasn't what I really wanted, and so I deleted that. So as we change and evolve and grow, some of the things that we want for ourselves evolve and change too. And this is where sometimes we can be chasing in the direction of something and then actually achieve it and find that it's not as fulfilling, because we haven't come in and checked in with ourselves to ask ourselves if it is what you really want. Because we can deviate and change and maneuver and put ourselves in any position that we want to, and create change in a really rapid way if we know to come in and ask these powerful questions. Hey, Katrina. Hey, Nerida. Hey. Oh, there's two Katrinas. How are you, beautiful ladies? So yeah, that was why I wanted to come in and have this conversation around, are you asking yourself questions to be able to know, to be able to speak your own truth? Ask yourself powerful questions to be able to always make sure that you are moving in the direction that you want to go and consciously creating that life that you want. And then we need to be able to move into the space of, once we have decided and know what it is that we want, then being able to clear the space to be able to make sure that you can look at how are you going to make this come about. So whether it's about, do you need to go and do more study? Do you need, increase your exercise, your nutrition? Ask people for help. When we start looking at the how-to steps on being able to achieve what it is that we want, it also reveals to us the gaps, which is really, really important, because, between point A and point B, there's lots of micro steps, and not all of the time are we going to have the information or the knowledge or know how to get ourselves there. And this is where, if we understand where our gaps are, we can start filling them in really, really quickly, and being able to look at, do I need to, get more assistance, get more help? And this enables us to be able to move in the direction of where we want to go, and being really completely attuned into making sure that you're living a life that is on your own terms and rising and shining, and being able to show up in the way that you want to do it by simply going in and asking yourself and allowing that intuitive part of yourself to come in and reveal to you what it is that you want. That is speaking your truth. It's not about other people. That's secondary, that you need can be addressed if you find that something is, not in alignment with yourself, to be able to bring up that conversation with someone else. But first you need to be coming in and asking yourself the questions all the time. Hey, Angela, how are you, love? So I'd love to know if this is resonating with people, because yesterday I did a video on whether we judge ourselves really harshly. And a lot of people, I was really surprised how many people came in and said, yeah, that was a really nice match for where they were at. The next is to be able to have these soulful, real, raw, honest conversations with ourselves, because sometimes we can think that we're moving in the direction of where we want to go. But sometimes when you ask yourself that question, that was quite a fair few months ago, and it may not make any difference to you now, and you're wasting all that time and energy. And it's so important to be able to get so much focus around what it is that you do want, and stop making things about external, because when we make things external and about other people, we take away that personal power that we have within ourselves. We remove ourselves from the situation. We can move into a space of victim mindset, or that Marsha type mindset of, I'm so busy helping others, and making these excuses that we buy into our own BS and start to believe that. And as we know, beliefs form habits, habits develop actions, and we stay into these really unhealthy cycles. Yes, this is interesting. Speaking your truth, being to yourself, not to others. Self-empowerment hides away. Definitely. So very, very true. Definitely love it, ladies. So I'm pleased that this is resonating with you. And this is where You know, this is something I've been thinking about all day because, you know, as soon as I saw that a card came out twice in 2 days, I was like, and of course, with the energy forecast for this week, Wednesday through to Friday was about that warrior woman. And I thought, well, how can you move into being a warrior woman if you're not having these soulful conversations with yourself? If you're not checking in with yourself, asking yourself, are you okay? What do you need? Show me what I want. If you're not asking these questions, our soul and the universe cannot come in and answer these questions for us. It can show us them, but if we are not brought into that awareness that this is what we are wanting, then how the hell are we going to know that that's a sign or a synchronicity in the first place? I've set strong boundaries. That is very, very wicked, Angela, and that is something that is really important. And that was what I was talking about, that victim and mantra mindset, because we find it so easy to consume our time doing things for other people, thinking that that is nourishing us. But all that does is it actually just keeps us hiding away from being able to ask the question. It keeps us hiding from being able to step into our own personal power. We make everything about other people's, and then, you know, we can do that for so long, but then eventually, you know, one day you wake up and you either ask yourself the question of how the hell did I get here? Or why am I doing this? And then turn it on other people and then bring in like the blame game, blaming others. I can't do this because of them. Well, no, everything comes back to that personal power within our own self and being able to understand that, you know, as Angela said, implementing boundaries. Sometimes when you start asking these powerful questions and get the answers that you've been seeking for that come from within. Because remember, your soul knows exactly your journey of how to get you from what you were put on this earth to do from point A to point B, and it will guide you every single step of the way. But our human counterpart of our mind likes to come in, take us off track, get confused, make it about other people, and then we go into this like mind mess where we're just arguing with ourselves and making everything about other people without remembering that you have this most amazing available resource within you, which is your soul, that is going to guide you every single step of the way. But if you don't ask the question, it can keep showing you it, but you're not going to notice that it is part of the message for the next step for you to take. I lost so much by giving my outline. That I absolutely love hearing these this feedback, Angela, about, you know, taking your power back and implementing really strong boundaries to keep your soul protected, because that is so important. Sometimes when you start asking these questions and then start looking at how are you actually going to get yourself to point A, point B, there are going to be moments where sometimes you do need to be able to go in and consider if, in order to be able to speak your truth, follow that divine guidance and that soulful guidance that is coming through for you, and being truthful to yourself to honor that you actually do really want to be able to go in the direction that you want to go. Sometimes we need to be able to clear space to make that happen. And sometimes that means not spending as much time for people, not always being available, not always giving so much of yourself. Sometimes you actually need to be able to pull back and give to yourself first, because you know what? The moment that, for me, this is 2 points. One, if the people that are in your world love you, are going to respect you and understand that you may not have the time and value when they do get to see you even more so. And they're the people that you want to keep in your world, because they're the ones that are going to support you, nourish you, remind you how amazing you are, and be what I classify as a great friend. But if you find that you have people that when you start pulling back and you're not available for their every single need and demand, you'll start finding that some of those friendships will start to fall away naturally on their own, because some people we keep in our world are always just about what they want. And if you don't fulfill that need for them, they'll just go and find someone else anyway. And to me, it is about being able to get to the end of our lifetime and know that it's not the coulda, shoulda, wouldas, because nothing great is generated from that. I wouldn't, for me, I want to get to the end of my lifetime and I went and say to myself, I've done this. Yes, some of them worked out really well, and other things were just put it down to, ticked it off the list and moved on. I think I see so many amazingly, incredibly powerful people out there that are living in the coulda, shoulda, wouldas, and that just keeps them playing small. It breaks down their soul. It just absolutely just destroys who that person is. Yet that moment where we can ask these powerful questions, and it's not about being rude, disrespectful, or getting in other people's faces, or there is in no way, shape or form is there in any way that you cannot have what you want and still have beautiful people around you to be there with you along that journey. Some people think that in order to be able to speak your truth, you need to be rude and disrespectful. That is no way, shape or form speak your truth, because that is not coming from a place of love. That's not coming from a place, your soul is not saying to you, have this conversation with your own self or have a conversation with someone and get in their face to just prove your point. That's disempowering. The conversation that I want to have to do today about speaking your truth is about empowering you to be honest and real and raw with yourself, being aware of my soul's answers. That is so very, very cool, Angela, and I'm so pleased to hear that you're doing that. And look at the changes. Now, Angela has made massive, massive changes. I'm not sure if people are aware, like the story and what you have overcome, Angela, and the direction that you're going, and you're just moving from strength to strength to strength, is just total validation on the conversation that we're having today, love. And I want to say total kudos, and I'm so proud of the steps that you're taking, and seeing how incredibly happy you are doing what you love by first having had these conversations to ask what sets your soul on fire, and what really does ignite you. What do you want to wake up and do each day? What is it that when your time comes, what is it that you want to leave behind? Who are the people that you would like to influence? How would you like to be as a person? These are all incredibly powerful questions that once you start asking your mind these questions, your mind must go find the answer, and your soul is the very first one that's going to come in and share with you those answers. And you open up your mind to a whole new level of awareness that you didn't know was sitting there in the background, because we get so distracted by the noise in our mind. I really needed to hear this, Rachel. I had to cut out people that were not good for me, and I have made huge changes. Yes, and that is exactly, I call them the doorstops. They stop the door opening to new heights. That's awesome, Tracy. And that is so true, Angela. I remember when I decided to change the direction of my business, I pretty much spent like 15 months sitting in my office for about 16 hours a day. My life had gone from being, I had girlfriends over when I was running my spiritual and wellness business. And my girlfriends used to always say, I don't know where you find the energy, Rachel, but I've always been known for that. I would work 10 to 12 hours, massaging and working with clients all day. And then I would still have girlfriends coming over to visit at least, 3 times throughout the week. And then I'd be out Friday and Saturday night. To realizing that I really, in order to make the changes that I needed to do, I had to change everything about my world. I stopped all the girlfriends coming over, I stopped the going out. I pretty much closed my life off for that 15 months. But I didn't have guilt, and I didn't feel bad about doing that, because I knew that, say I live, and my idea is I'm going to live till I'm 86. That's always been my number. If I live to 86 and I have to just sort of close things down for about 15 months in order to be able to get that momentum, learn all the skill sets that I need to do, create new healthy habits, and really, really bring all my focus and attention and energy to what I was truly passionate about, that's like that small of a scale on the lifetime span that I've been on here. And people will either respect that or they don't. And you cannot worry about what other people will think, because then again you make it secondary, making other people's needs of you more important than what it is that you need for yourself. And I've always been a massive, massive believer that you can have it all. Just sometimes you need to be able to move things around, juggle things about, but you can have everything. And this is something I have truly, truly, truly believed in. And this is something that I would like to start seeing more people changing that mindset around it. You know, the amount of times I hear women say, because most of my clients are primarily women, you know, I can't do this because of I have husbands and kids. And, you know, like, what, are you going to just stop living because you've got a husband and two children, you know, some children and maybe a few pets? Hey, Karen, how are you, love? It has been a really long time since I've seen you. I'm having a hard time. Please help. No problems. So this was something that I really wanted to clear up today around what actually speaking your truth is. It is not about other people. It is about yourself. And it's about not only speaking your truth and asking these questions, but then also looking at the mindset shift in which you will need to do to be able to maintain speaking your truth, which means sometimes you're going to have to look at your belief systems. You're going to have to look at your habits and your behaviors. You're going to have to look at, you know, what is going to have to be some new rituals that you will need to be able to do to be able to maintain getting yourself from where you are now to where you want to be. And that all comes with the things that I teach them with my students, which is a model that I teach them, which is called CPR: consistency, persistence, and repetition. If you really want to be able to speak your truth, and you are going to have to do these things because they're important. They're all of the things that build strength within yourself and creates that momentum in the direction that you want to go in. And this is what makes it so incredibly empowering. And this is when we start realizing our own full potential, that we are completely limitless as beings of what we can do. And this is well, Rachel, 15 months. Yes, I did it for a year in spiritual sabbatical, connected with my soul. I put myself first and follow my soul. I follow my soul, not my heart. I totally dig that, Angela, and I am so pleased that you have decided to follow your soul, love, because look at where you're going. You're doing amazing, amazing stuff, and that is the kind of, that's what happens. You really can change your life when you start applying these simple principles. I've pulled away from some people who are no longer serving. And that is so true, Tracy. As we start going in and asking these empowering questions, and when we start honoring what we really want for our own self and start making the changes, there is sometimes a natural progression where some people will pull away, and that is okay. And that's where we understand the concept that some people come into our life for a lifetime, and some people come into our life for the lesson that we need to learn at that time. And we can either choose to exit peacefully and gracefully, or we can make it unpleasant and painful. The choice usually always comes up to our own self. Everyone's resistance. Everyone resistance to my change. Karen. Resistance will only come by other people if you have always been their go-to person, love. And when you start bringing your energy back, of course, people are going to have an issue with that. That also shows strength, love. So keep doing what you want, and people will naturally fall away, and be okay with that, and know that beautiful new people will come into your world as old people fall away. Yes, my shift was, this is how I could make change. Hang on a sec, what is going on here? So very cool that you made the change. And also, Angela, yeah, it's important. That mindset shift is one of the most empowering things, because your mind, you are in control of your mind. Your mind is not in control of you, and there's a lot of times people underestimate that. And that is why it is so important to have those rituals, to have those changes of patterns behavior, because every time you feel like not doing something, you go back and remind yourself why you're doing it. And it's not that Tony Robbins, remind yourself why you're doing it. But remember, for me, it's about reminding myself, what do I want? show me what I want. And so therefore, yes, there's going to be times that you're going to have to do things that you don't feel like doing it. And not every, I go for a walk every day with my dogs. Not every day do I want to take them for a walk. But the moment that I get my backside up and I go out there and I do the walk, by the time, you know, on the days where I don't feel like doing it are days that I will put empowering, like, podcasts in my head. I'll go in and do my own because I'm doing study. I'll listen to the information from there and completely shift my thoughts from being about myself to reminding myself of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Why is it important for me? And those are the things, because on the days when you don't feel like doing something comes the very day in which you need to be able to do the thing that you don't want to do, because you know what, you can either, one thing I've always reminded myself is that on those days when I don't feel like going, and yes, it is one of those days where video and everything just shits itself.